So I actually started running because I was asthmatic.
For this episode, we have a lady who started running to wean off her asthma medications. Yes, you heard that right. And that dream that started to get rid of asthma led her to represent India in the 24-hour World Championship. And later, with the not giving up spirit and hard work, she didn't just represent India in 24-hour World Championship, but also became the first Indian woman to win the 24-hour World Championship in France, covering 202.2 kilometers in 24 hours. This crazy, amazing, awesome lady is none other than the ultra runner Apurva Chaudhary Chikara. She believes in the power and magic of universe, in living life to the fullest and doing some not so regular things. She absolutely loves traveling, trekking and exploring the world. I'm Meenakshi Srivastava, your host for Inspiring Explorers, and I welcome you to the show Inspiring Explorers. Each week, I'll be interviewing some of the most successful personalities who will share with us their inspiring life journeys and some of the interesting travel experiences that are not limited to sightseeing. Guys, make sure you share this episode with your friends. Please do subscribe, follow, give a 5-star rating, and hopefully a review. And also don't forget to come say hi to me on Instagram at the rate mybohovoyage. Now, before I start this episode, let me inform you that we recorded this interview during the COVID-19 lockdown, and hence the recording was done remotely. We were both sitting in our houses and recorded it online. So please don't mind the background noises, and I hope you still enjoy it. So, without any further delay, let me welcome our guest for today, the ultra runner Apurva Chaudhary Chikara. Welcome to Inspiring Explorers, Apurva.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so the first question, how did you choose running as your career?
So I actually started running because I was asthmatic and I just picked up running because I wanted to wean off my medication and I was too tired of taking asthma medication. It was just killing me. Every day my father would come up with some medicine and be like, I think this is Ayurveda, you should try this and try that. And this one day I just decided to wean off all the asthma medication and I started traveling, trekking, running, and somehow I could see the changes in me. I mean, I went to the mountains, I did some treks, and I was at the altitude of 4,000 meters, which is around, I think, 16,000 feet or something. And I did not, I mean, being an asthmatic, I should, feel some kind of problem at that altitude, yeah. But I did not face any challenge. And I came back and then I picked up running and I realized that, the frequency of my asthma relapses, it went down. And then I kept on running, and after a year, I could literally feel for almost 1 year, I wasn't on any medication, and there was not one relapse that I faced during that 1 year of span, which is in 2016, 2017. I was not an avid runner back then, but rather a trekker, a backpacker who would want to summit mountains. So that is what I was doing. I was climbing mountains. I was volunteering for, ultra runs. And then I gradually, increased my distance from, 2 kilometers to 5 kilometers to 10 kilometers. And in 2017, I finally decided to run a half marathon, and that was in December. Yeah, that was in December 2017. That is when I registered for Adidas Uprising, and I ran my first half marathon. And I always wanted to do a sub 2 because that is what I've heard from fellow runners, what a sub 2 is a good time to run your first half marathon. So it was kind of stuck in my head, if I'll run my first half marathon, it has to be a sub 2. So I ran and it was a sub 2, and fortunately I made it to the podium also. I came first in that half marathon because there weren't too many women participants at that event. But yeah, I mean it's a good start. So I kind of enjoyed it, and then I registered for another half marathon, which was IDBI. So I ran that in 2018 February. So, and that is when I met my coach. So he's this young guy. His name is Kanan Jain, and he is, I think, 21 now. So, and he was, I think, 18 or 19 back then. Yeah.
Wow.
So I met him and he was like, wow, Didi, this is so good to meet you. The conversation went on and then we became friends. He started messaging me and his exams got over and we met. And when we were sitting, we did discuss about, my trip to Ladakh, wherein I backpacked for like 15 days. And after that conversation, he asked me, would you like to represent India in World Championships? And I asked him, what's that? He was like, it's a 24-hour running championship and you run for, continuously you run for, 24 hours in a 400-meter track. And I looked at him, I was very surprised. I looked at him like, are you nuts? Are you crazy? Do you really think that, I can run 24 hours in a 400-meter loop? I hardly run half marathons as of now. And maybe, until the end of the year, which was 2018, maybe, until, the end of this year, maybe in October or in November, I will run a full marathon. And then he said, just go back and think about it. And I came back home and I don't know why I said yes to him. I was like, okay, I think maybe at the back of my head, I could just think of wearing the Indian jersey. So it was exciting for me, like wearing the Indian jersey. Okay. And I did not think of anything. It was just a random dream that he put up in my head. I was like, okay. And I called him. I was like, Karan, I want to represent India in the 24-hour World Championship. And then he asked me, are you sure? And I was like, you're not asking me this again. Like, you just asked me this question once. I did think about it. Now I've made my head. No matter what it takes, yes, I am in it and I'll be doing it, with 110% of dedication. And then he told me that, you have to first qualify for it. And to qualify for it, you should run more than, 160 or 170 kilometers in your 24-hour, in a 24-hour stadium run. And we hardly had a year to actually prepare and qualify for the championship. So we broke this big goal into 3 small goals. So first we sat down. First, actually, I think we ran from Gurgaon to India Gate rather. Yeah. So there was a run happening from Gurgaon to India Gate. And that was my upgrade from a half marathon to a 30 kilometer.
Wow.
So yeah,
the starting point was where? From where was it the starting point?
It was started from Leisure Valley Park.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, that's too much. Like from there to India Gate, quite a bit.
And it wasn't actually exactly 30 kilometers. It was 29 point something.
Yeah, so still, but
So we ran from Gurgaon to India Gate, and at the India Gate, we sat down and we decided how will we actually qualify for, qualify to represent the country in 24-hour championship. So we decided that we'll do 50-kilometer race first to qualify for a 12-hour stadium run. And then once we'll do a 12-hour stadium run, then we'll do a 24-hour stadium run. And we only had 3 races to, actually qualify for the championship. So 50-kilometer, I did Toughman Mashobra in July 2018. Then we ran 12-hour stadium run, like exactly, I think a month after that, which was in August 2018. And I ran 99.76 kilometer in my first 12-hour stadium run. And the running community was surprised because, someone who was running a half marathon, that person moving to a distance of 100 kilometer in such a short span, and that too, staying away from injuries. So it was kind of good appreciation. People started acknowledging me, my presence, but nobody knew that I was, preparing to qualify for the World Championships. And then the same year, 2018, December, I ran my first 24-hour run. And by the grace of God and my coach, he has always been my side. So by his help, by the grace of God and all the good vibes that I received from everyone, from all my friends, I could qualify for the World Championship. Rather, I was the first woman to qualify for the 24-hour World Championship. And that is when I made the national record in the 24-hour running format. So it was beautiful. And that is when I gave myself another goal. Like, the idea is not just to qualify and wear the Indian jersey and to represent the country in the World Championship. The idea is to, represent your country strong. I have goosebumps. Oh my God. Yeah.
I
So I
can
have,
understand
yeah,
that actually. It's
yeah.
like, yeah.
So then I gave myself a target. No Indian woman could touch, the figure 200 in a 24-hour championship. And I took that up as a challenge. So after the race, when we sat down, after qualifying, when I sat down with my coach, I looked at him and I said, we are doing 200 kilometers. And he looked at me and he said, yes, we will, but not too soon. And I was like, no, but I want to do it. So there was this another stadium run coming up, which was in India, Bangalore. And he said, no, you're running this run as a training run. But I promise that you will run 200 kilometer and you will represent the country strong. So I think from that day onwards, we started preparing for a 200 kilometer. And I think I keep so many journals. So I believe in magic books and dreams and magic. I in fact have a magic box. I keep putting the chits of my dreams in that box. So yeah, with all the preparation, I went to Paris and I did run there. I ran strong and I could do dreamt of. I became the first Indian woman to run 200 kilometer, rather more than 200, which it was 202.2 kilometer in a 24-hour stadium run format. So yes, the journey that started to get rid of asthma has led me to a dream to represent the country.
Wow, beautiful. So, were there any hurdles that you faced?
I do remember the hurdles that I faced. I work 9 to 5, so I used to get up like super early in the morning, go for my training runs, then go to work, do all the work, come back, cook, clean, and then again train in the evening and then sleep. There were days, when I literally like cried, like, damn, why am I doing this? I did, question myself at times, like, why am I doing this? Why have I registered for this pain? There were days, wherein I would go home on weekends and nobody knew that, I was preparing for something this crazy. Not my parents, not my siblings, just a couple of people, like, fistful of people. My best friend, she knew, she has witnessed the journey from the very beginning. The day when I came and I said, I'm doing this, when I pinned my dream on the board. So I keep this board in my room wherein I, keep pinning things. So I pinned it on the board and she did not question me. She did look at me with a little surprise and she's like, okay, fine, whatever, another stupid thing that she's up to. But I don't know if she believed in me or if she did not believe in me back then. But yeah, it was then when I started and I went home. My dad would say, why would you want to go and run? You just here for 2 days. Why are you showing off? You're going for a run because you want to show off. And I couldn't tell him that, I'm preparing for something big. And yeah, he kept saying that. He would just ask me not to go. So what I would do is I would rather wait for him to leave from home. Once he's out of home, I'll just put on my running shoes and I'll go. And there are times when we both met like in between, like, damn, I asked you not to go for a run. What are you doing here? So that sort of things. But it's all worth it. I used to go to work and people would tell me that, it's not your age to, run for the country or represent for the country, though they did not know anything about it. But still, age is the factor. Pursuing it as a passion is all good. Yeah, you cannot play for the country now or this, that, blah, blah. But you just have to, keep ignoring the naysayers in your head. You don't have to answer them then and there. Like, keep working.
And you need to believe in self first.
Exactly. Keep believing in yourself. Let people say what they're saying. You have a dream and you don't have to prove yourself in words. You do not have to explain yourself in words. Let your actions explain it for you.
So here you also proved one more point that you said your coach was young, very young.
Yeah.
So the age factor doesn't, the age factor goes, irrelevant there as well. Like your age for running, but he's a young coach.
Yeah, so I think that also worked for me. His energy is infectious. And we did not start running crazy from the beginning itself. He does a lot of research when it comes to running. Here, he hears so many podcasts, he watches so many documentaries, he keeps sending those podcasts and documentaries to me. Not just that, we actually did not start putting in a lot in our training. We gradually increased, the distance, the mileage, the training. uh, that is how he could actually keep me away from the injury. That's one thing. And uh, I think we think too much when we can learn from anyone, right? So your teacher doesn't uh, necessarily need to be an elderly person. Your coach, I mean, your trainer, your coach, your teacher can be anyone around you. You just have to put your faith in your teacher. That's the most important thing to do. So when you choose a teacher, when you call anyone a teacher or a coach, you have to you put your faith, your trust in that person 110%, and believe that the person is also working for your goal with you, as dedicatedly as you are. So I think I put my faith in him, and I was completely following the plan without doubting it. I wasn't following anyone else. I wasn't talking to too many people, because that creates unnecessary distraction. And yes, he is very dedicated, and he kept putting in his insights, his research to my training, and I am sure it will continue to work in favor of me. So yes.
Wonderful. Yeah, that's a good point that, our mentor can be anybody. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
really an elder guy only. Like हमेशा हम ये नहीं
Yeah,
देखेंगे कि
exactly.
बड़ा ही होना
छोटा
चाहिए.
है तो इसकी बात नहीं सुने, छोटा है तो
हाँ,
पता होगा.
skills matter and determination
Yeah,
matters, I guess, right?
exactly,
Uh,
exactly.
okay, so like you said that when you were running, your father used to say कि मैं बोल रहा हूँ मत run करो, and your office people also were not really, believing in you. So like, what were these challenges that you faced while choosing this as your career? Like people usually see running as a passion and not as a career, and they
Mhm.
hardly believe in the risk of, कि runner बन पाएगा कोई,
Yeah.
job करो
So,
अपना.
I think any dream, I think I'm lucky that way when it comes to my workplace. So there will be people around you who are your colleagues. They may not believe in what you're doing, right? But when it comes to work, my bosses have always been very, very supportive. So they never stopped me to go and participate for any run. They never stopped me. I mean, I've always got as many leaves as I wished for my races. So work has always been very supportive. They in fact felicitated me after my after the first national record that I made. And in fact, when I went to Alibi and I became the first Indian woman to run 200 kilometer, my CEO, he did a meeting with me. He met me. He asked me for whatever support I require. He would like to provide that support to me. So, and yeah, and the conversation did go forward as well. So the work has been supportive. The colleagues initially they did not believe in me. My father, he actually did not know what I was up to. So you know he was like, why would anyone run 20 kilometer, 30 kilometer, 10 kilometer for no use? Why is someone putting their body in such exertion for no reason? I mean, at this age, you cannot become an athlete, right? So what's the point of training this hard at this age? So that is what my father was thinking. And he did not get to know about it until everything was actually in the newspaper. So the night I made the national record, I called my mother. She was aware of it. I called her and I was like, I ran this much in 24 hours, and I've become a national athlete now. So she was happy. She went, and my Taiji, my dad, everyone was there, and she told it to them, and they were like, this is not a good thing. You're praising this. I don't know what is she up to. Why is she running for 24 hours? And what would she do to her body? And next day, everything was in the newspaper. It was covered by the national newspaper. So that is how they got to know about it. And then they started getting the calls from, all the neighbors and all the relatives. Like, I think she's your daughter. We just read your name in the newspaper. She's made a national record. How are you feeling? And that is when my dad called me and said, I'm proud of you. And I was like, I think that was the first, again, I'm sorry. So that was the first time in my life when my dad said, I'm proud of you. I was like, okay, 20
Wow.
years I waited for this. So
Yeah, so you kind of proved it to them.
rather not to prove it to anyone, do not lose faith in yourself. Do not lose faith in your dream. That is the most important thing, no matter what people say. And you don't have to explain it to them in words. Never explain anything to people in words, be it your parents, be it your siblings, your friends, anyone. Just, believe in your dream, keep moving in the right direction. And the day isn't too far when you reach at your goal. So one step at a time, and just stay quiet. Keep doing it.
True, wonderful. Also, I think when you had asthma, I think anybody would give up on anything, especially something like trekking and running. So, but what was your mind and process that यार मैं ये करके देखती हूँ क्योंकि मेरे को asthma है. Like, how does that
So
come into
people
your head?
actually say, you should do yoga, you should do this, you should do that. And trust me, it I was I got crazy because of it. I mean, like everyone, some relative would come up with some medication, and my parents would come up with some medication, and the asthma relapses were very frequent. I was very negative. So, and you just hate eating all those medicines. I mean, every day you're eating a medicine for something or the other thing. So that happened, and fortunately I was very active in theater back then, so I was exploring opportunities to participate in theater, and I got to be the body double of a runner in a running documentary. And that is when I got to know that there is something that is called ultra running, and that is how people run. Through that lady, her name is Kavita Kanapardi. Through that lady, I got to know about ultra running, and then I started volunteering for ultra run. So they invited me to volunteer at one of their ultra marathon, which was happening in Run of Kutch. So I went there. I was helping them marking the routes and managing other stops, aid stations, and that is when I was roaming around in dust and running around and under the sun in different talents. So that is, and then I went to Spiti to actually help them for a race that is called Himalayan Crossing, and that is when I realized actually I think despite of me going out playing outside outdoor games, being dirty, if that doesn't cause any asthma problem, I think it could be in my head. It could be that it could be, I don't know what it could be, but I think this is something that is helping me traveling, meeting, marking these routes, going outdoors. So that is when I tried, like, let me just give it a try. Let me just go out for a run and see. So I just weaned off my asthma medication, and doctors told me that this is a lifetime thing, and you have to learn to live with it. So you're gonna be like really crazy and stubborn to just
Beat something like that.
wrong. Yeah, prove them wrong. Like, okay, sorry, are you saying that I gotta learn to live with it? What if I don't want to learn to live with it? What if I
Yeah.
want to just wean it off? Yeah. So you must have heard stories of people who've overcome cancers, people who've overcome, some crazy diseases, and that only through, I think, their willpower.
Yeah. So that's also like very nice thing, you're talking about the
Yeah.
willpower. I think people are gonna learn a lot through this also. Like,
Yeah, I'm
just
not
keep doing.
asking people to give up on their medications.
Obviously.
Obviously,
Please don't
yeah, please don't.
continue that.
Yeah, so I'm not asking anyone to wean off their medication. Maybe, I mean,
But they can
they just
try.
have to believe, exactly. You believe,
Yeah.
yeah. if we talk about homeopathy, that works on the placebo effect, and that is like they don't actually give you medicine.
Yeah.
So they do not actually give you medicine. It's just the idea of the medicine that they put in your head, that you're taking medicine for this particular disease, and it's actually curing that disease, and people believe in it and they recover. So there are studies that support what I am saying, but I would not suggest anyone to wean off their medication because
Well, obviously.
yeah, it worked for me. Yeah.
Yeah, like at least ये नहीं है कि give up करके बैठ जाओ कि नहीं अब तो कुछ नहीं हो
I mean,
सकता.
just imagine. So if let me, I have did my training runs even when I was sick, even when I feel feverish. So I would just not sit down and feel tired or sick, because if you feel it, you actually you're telling your brain to just accelerate it, like okay, fine, you creating, so like basically what you think you create it, right? So I'm not saying that you're not feeling tired, or you're not, you don't have fever or whatever, but if you just sit down and feel it, you I mean you just catch it faster,
Yeah,
even with just the initial symptoms. So
true.
I yeah, exactly. So
That's
basically
very
you create what you think. So think
true.
things,
Yeah,
two things: create health, create happiness, create dreams.
yes. And you can make it happen.
Yeah, you can all. So if you can dream it, you can do it. If you cannot dream it, you cannot do it. The first step is to dream.
Yes, true.
Yeah, and
So,
believe in the magic of life.
yeah, exactly. Also believe in magic per se.
But
I
you have to
believe
work hard for it.
true. ऐसा नहीं है कि बोल दिया हो गया.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't come easy. Like, say I will be the greatest runner on this planet, but then I sleep and eat and I don't work out. How will I be the best runner on the planet, or in this world, or in the history?
True, you'll have to work for the dreams also.
Exactly. Obviously, you have to work for your dreams.
Yeah. So you said that you were the first woman in the 24 hours world championship to cover 200 kilometers. So
First Indian woman.
first Indian woman, yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, you were the first Indian woman to cover 200 kilometers in the 24 hours world championship in Paris. So
Mm-hmm.
how was that entire experience? Like you worked so hard for it. So how
Yeah.
exactly was it in the feelings and the
So
entire experience?
yeah. So the race actually happened not in Paris but Albi. So Albi is a
Okay.
big small town in France, so it happened there. So the race day. So I was all excited when I got the Indian jersey in my hands, and I was overwhelmed. We went there. We were meeting other teams. There's so many participants from so many countries, and I would tell you exactly how I felt on the race day, because before the race day, I think I didn't feel much. I was enjoying the city, I was meeting people, and I was talking to my fellow runners, and they were nervous. Some of them were excited. Some of them that wasn't their first time. So when I went for my race, so I usually do it. So I surrendered myself to the universe and I look up. So I usually do that. I usually surrender myself to the universe. I look up and I tell that, I've made a plan, right? I've made a plan. I have trained on that plan. But today I surrender everything to you. And if help me execute it, help me execute it. I have a race day plan. I have put in everything that was required from me on a training day. Please, please help me execute it. I in fact talk to my body like, please, today is the day. Maybe I will be putting you through a torture, but please support me, help me. So after 12 hours, your body actually doesn't accept food properly. So I keep talking to my body as well. Please accept the food. I'll feed you properly once this race gets over. I'll give you good food. So just support me today. So when I started running, I wasn't competing with anyone. So I had a goal in my head, like I went there with a goal, a target in my head, which was not 202. It was a little more than that. I couldn't achieve what I planned for. But yeah, I wasn't stopping. I mean, I decided it in my head, like, no matter what, it's not going to be less than 200, no matter what. So I already had a goal in my head. I wasn't competing against anybody, and I stick to the plan. So I made a plan and I followed it. Like, I did not run fast in the beginning. The idea was to run consistently throughout. So I was running consistently throughout without competing against anyone. My competition was me, and I had to prove myself that I have become better than the previous 24-hour stadium run that I have done. So those were the thoughts. I do remember, running with the star athletes, elite athletes, and there were moments when you feel tired, and then you look at them like, if they can do it, and if if there's so many people who can do it, why can't I do it? So that is when, that was one thought that kept me going. It's like, I looked at those elite athletes, the world champions. So like, they're the world champions, right? I think they eat the same food. They have the same blood, flesh, bones, right? So if they're doing it, why can't I do it? So that is how I kept going. And I do remember at the 13th hour, I don't know why I started missing my mom. So it does happen. You just don't know. You're so overwhelmed. Because you're running and there's so many thoughts that are there in your head. So at the 13th hour, I started missing my mom and I started crying. And that is when I recalled everything that could have, broken me down to pieces. But, it did not. I bounced back stronger. And that is when I recalled all the bad training runs that I've had. I mean, the training runs wherein I have puked, the training runs wherein I would not want to just go and run, the training run wherein, I was almost asleep and running. So we did so many night runs wherein I run at night. So there were runs wherein, my eyes were closed and I was running and I fell down because, at times I would bump into a speed breaker. So that sort of things, so I recalled all those things, the bad training days, how I couldn't cope, what people said, how I could not make until to this particular track. So there were so many things, but you do recall all those things, the people who supported you, the nice people who were always there for you. So when you give up, you think of those people as well. They have hopes from you back in your country. People are cheering for you. They're just consistently following your race. They want to know what the result would be. And I do remember when I came back, there were so many messages. Is she going for the magic number today? So the magic number was if she would be able to, run a 200 kilometer in 24 hours. So they were all excited and they were all discussing it. So all the good vibes that they were sending. And in fact, I do remember, the kind of support that we got in Paris, it was commendable. I have never seen such support in India. The old ladies were like, sitting there with those pom-poms in their hands with the big banners. People were, cheering us throughout the night. They were there sitting with their kids and cheering us. The Indians who live in Alibi, they were there supporting us, cheering for us. So it was overwhelming. And people there, they were not only cheering for their country. That was the best thing that I experienced. They were cheering for everyone, and they would just see me every time, and they'll start shouting, India, India. And that was the adrenaline rush. You feel so good. And I think I was smiling throughout the race. I did not feel no pain. So I do remember when I ran my first 24-hour race, I kept questioning myself, why am I doing this? Why did I register for this? This is so much of pain. I think this is the last time I'm doing this. I'll never repeat it. And then I ended up making the national record, which made me run another 24-hour run. And I had to run this world championship. And this was the smoothest race I've actually run. I did not feel no pain. I ran strong. And I think after the 15th hour, I got into the beast mode. Like I knew that it's going to be a 200. But I did feel a little scary at around 22nd hour, because that is when you see so many people fainting, people are just puking, and you do not want to catch that vibe. You're too scared to catch that vibe. You're too scared to get into that zone. So yes, but then I wanted to cross the 200-kilometer mark, and when I crossed it, I had tears in my eyes. I just kept running with tears and thanking the universe, thanking all the people who actually supported me during the training runs. They're invisible people. They're people, family, friends who took care of my laundry. My massages on the weekends, my food. There's so many things that, people invisibly take care of. So I don't know. Somehow I'm fortunate that I'm surrounded by all the amazing, good, kind people all around me. So yeah, that was very, very overwhelming. And after the 200 my best friend, she specially flew from London for the race. So she flew for the race with her fiance, and she just took care of everything that she could have. And that is how she has been part of this whole journey from the day I pinned up that dream on the board to actually accomplishing that dream on that particular day. So yes, her presence there, it also, made it very special. My coach and I ran the last two. He also represented the country, basically.
Okay.
We both ran the last 2 or 3 loops together with the Indian flag on our shoulders. So it was just too overwhelming. You just, I don't know, there's some people, when they accomplish their dreams, they're just very happy, and they have different ways of expressing it. I cried for days. When I receive calls, I just keep crying and crying. So it take me I take time to digest it, like, okay, it has happened. And I don't know, maybe I'm full of gratitude, and just too happy and too thankful to this universe for actually making everything come true. So yeah.
Wow, that is so awesome, yeah. I mean, a girl facing asthma problems becomes the first Indian woman to cover 200 kilometers in 24 hours. That's really magical.
Yeah, yes, you should say that. I'm a little proud of myself. It's just the beginning, as I say.
Yes.
Yes, as I say, is anything is possible. It's just that if you dream it, you can do it. Just imagine someone who thought of going to the moon for the first time. What do you think? Would be right? No one would believe him. Like,
Nobody would.
nobody would. Why? Look at this stupid man. He wants to go to that thing that
Yeah.
looks bright and shiny and red and whatnot. How is, I don't know, how comes later on? But first of all, you just have to dream and then plan it, start working towards it, and one day you will just reach there.
Yeah.
Just imagine someone who would say, I'll go to the Mount Everest. No one would believe. Why? No,
Yeah.
I
People die
yeah,
going
people
there.
die. Yeah, people die going there. Right? Flying. A man who would have said first time that, I'll fly.
Hmm.
Right?
True.
How? Right?
Wow.
Call him mad. People would have called him mad. Like, he's mad. Right? But
True.
we have aeroplanes now. People are flying. We
True.
the gliders, then there are parachutes. There's so many things.
Yeah, and you can fly. You
Yeah, we're
can fly.
flying. If
Oh,
any dream is, obviously, it sounds crazy in the
at
beginning.
first. Yeah.
Right? It's a first step. And it sounds crazy and people would call you mad, but it's okay. I've lost friends during, I was training, and then, nobody knew what I was training for. In fact, when people got to know that what I actually was training for, I did not have time to socialize, right? I would go and train in the morning, then I would go to work, then I come back, sleep. Weekends are heavy training days wherein you train more. When you train more, you want to sleep more. Like if you train for 6-7 hours in a day, what else would you want to do? Sleep and eat, and then you only get the weekend to clean your room and your space when you don't have, any time in a weekday. So I've lost so many social circles that I used to be part of. But I think it's all good because what's there now is worth keeping. I know it, right? People who've been there, they're my people. They'll always be there.
True. So you also traveled through your work, like volunteering and for the races,
A
obviously,
lot.
and
A
then
lot.
through your race also, you went to
Yes.
Paris. So
Yeah.
tell us about some experiences which were not related to sightseeing, like we all
Uh,
sightsee. I need some other experiences that are not limited to sightseeing.
okay. So this was not through my work. This was actually before when I started running. I backpacked to Ladakh. And just imagine a girl, a solo traveler. People say it's not safe to hitchhike. I hitchhiked. I hitchhiked with truck drivers. So I met Zakir. Zakir is a truck driver in Leh, and he is one amazing person. I was dead tired. I did not want to hitchhike with a on a motorbike because my back was hurting. I was carrying my backpack. So if you're sitting on a bike with a backpack, your back is just super dead. And just imagine the kind of terrain the Leh Ladakh that area has. So I hitchhiked in the truck. I was scared. I would not lie. I was shit scared because it was my first time. I was hitchhiking in a truck with a stranger, and he could see that I was tired and sleep deprived. And that is when he said, Didi, aap so sakte ho. He said, sister, if you want to sleep, you can sleep. This is not Delhi NCR. You're safe here. And that hit me hard. I mean, like, just look at that guy. I mean, and his truck was super comfortable. And if you're traveling in Leh Ladakh, I think truck is the best test ride one can experience. So that was one bizarre experience. And through my work, I've traveled to a lot of places. So I've been to Berlin, I've been to Austria, Prague, yeah, Paris, a lot of other places too. So I remember this one story from Germany. I was in Berlin, and from Berlin, I planned to go to a town which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It's, I think, called Dresden, if I'm not wrong. So I went there. It was pouring throughout the day. So it was pouring, and just I am too confused with those their red lines, blue lines, this line, that line, buses, trains, trams. So I went, I explored the forts and the museums, and then I kept standing at this one point waiting for my bus. So no, for half an hour, no bus came, and it was my first time in a foreign land, and I was too skeptical to ask for a lift. But then for good 1 hour, no bus came, and then I had no choice but to ask for a lift. People did not give me lift. But then this girl Yasmin came, so all tattooed with piercing and all. She stopped, and I was like, "Would you please drop me to the nearest bus stop or a train stop, tram stop, because no bus has come here for past 1 hour, and it'd be so nice of you." Land. She dropped me to the bus stop, and we've had a very, very good conversation. So that was awesome. And then I would tell you the story of this kind of stranger whom we met in Austria. So I couldn't find a taxi, and I couldn't. I mean, I went to taxi drivers, and they're denying that this place is nearby. Just please, you can walk to that place. You can walk to that place. My internet wasn't working, and then I was scared. I was shit scared. So I was walking down the street, and I kept asking the cab drivers there, could you please drop me? And they kept denying, and they were not speaking in English. So they were speaking in some different language that I don't understand. And then I met this guy, Afghani guy. He could speak the language, so he did try to convince the taxi driver to drop me. And then he offered help. He asked me if I speak Urdu. To that I nodded, like, yeah, Urdu is similar
Mhm.
to Hindi. So I nodded. So then he started talking, and I realized he was talking Hindi only. I mean, it was
Yeah,
yeah. So
very
then we
similar.
yeah, but then like I'll drop you to your hotel. So I mean, you're in a foreign land. You do not want to believe a stranger. Like, why is he being nice to me? This guy, he dropped me to the hotel. After that, I mean, after the thank you and everything, he went back. Again in the evening, he came back with, a coffee and a burger, because he thought that, I am alone, and I might be scared, and I might not have gone out to eat. And now also I'm skeptical, right? This guy, he obviously he has some intentions,
Hmm.
getting me a
The
burger.
coffee and burger, yeah.
Yeah, why would he do that? And then he's like, let's go. I'll take you on a city tour. And I'm like, damn, now to, he's getting huh?
That's a
This is
karabe.
too much. Yeah, but I don't know why. As you were talking about the vibes, I have those vibes. So I have traveled a lot, and I've met so many amazing good strangers. So I wasn't getting bad vibes from him, though I was skeptical in my head, but I wasn't getting bad vibes from him. So I actually went with him. And trust me, he did bargaining for me. He helped me buying stuff. He took me to places, and we did explore the city that night. And then he dropped me back at my hotel. And we did exchange numbers. We did stay in touch when I was in Europe. And it was just a nice, sweet, kind gesture. He did not expect anything in return of it. So, yeah, I mean,
So, like, basically, he just wanted to share his knowledge of local culture and cuisines that you
yeah,
wouldn't otherwise experience if it wasn't for him,
exactly.
I guess, right?
Exactly. Yeah, right. So, yes, and I have lost my phone on a bus. So I was traveling for, yeah. So, and I did not have any phone
So,
number. So,
where
this,
did you like lose this? Which country, city?
so this actually happened in India only. So
Okay.
I had no. So I usually try to travel on New Year's, on my birthdays. I don't want to, like. I usually don't stay in cities. So this time on New Year, I thought of traveling to go to Udaipur.
Yeah.
And I just packed instantly without Googling, researching anything. I just packed my stuff. Uh, I took a bus, and in a haste, I did not realize that it was a private bus. It was a non AC private bus which was stopping everywhere. And I took a bus to Jaipur first, yeah, and then I thought that I'll take another bus from Jaipur. That was the worst ride of my life. And the moment I entered inside the bus, I kept my phone on the seat. I turned around, and the phone was gone. It was gone. I couldn't look out. I couldn't click pictures on. I mean, even if I reached Udaipur, how would I, Google places?
Obviously.
Yeah, how would I go and find my hotel? Though there was no hotel booked at all. So how would I go? What would I do? Fortunately, as I told you, I keep a journal, a diary, and a book always with me. There was a journal, and fortunately, there was a number of a fellow traveler whom I met um, like a year ago on a different trip. So that person used to live in Udaipur. So I took someone else's number. I called this person. I went to this person's place. I stayed with that person, and it was all fun. Yeah, losing a phone also on a trip, it was fun.
Yeah, obviously. A good experience, and also to remember that everybody should keep a journal, I guess. Numbers rakho alag se. So,
Right.
other than that, like you went to Paris, Berlin, Germany, any other experiences that you remember that were, a little more localish, like food, cuisine, hospitality, anything related to that?
Let me tell you one experience from India about local cuisine and hospitality. So,
Bilkul.
um, as I was telling you that there's so many people who help you invisibly during your trainings, and that happened at my first race. So 50 kilometer. when I registered for that race, it was an expensive race for me. Back then, I wasn't earning too much, and the registration cost was 8,000 or 9,000. So I registered for that race, and again, the stay cost was almost similar, 8,000, 9,000 something. I was like, damn, it's just going to be too expensive, man. Like, I cannot just go and spend 20K just like that for this one race, and that too like for 2 days. So I decided to carry my tent and my sleeping bag with me. And I thought I'll just pitch it, some place which is near to the race venue. And I checked the race venue. After all the checking and everything, I found that there was a village nearby. And I thought that it's good that I go and pitch my tent near to a village, because that is how I'll at least be, safe, because I was the only girl. And if I'm sleeping in a tent, I would, want to be safe. So I started pitching my tent, and I was pitching my tent close to a house, and the lady came out and she started, asking me questions. Who are you? Where have you come from? Why are you pitching your tent here? Do you know leopards come here at night? This, that, and you'll be staying here alone. I was like, yeah. And then I don't know why I asked her, आप मुझे अपने पास रख लो. Then she looked at me and was like, okay. I'm like, okay, as in, okay, just give me some time. Let me talk to my son, and then we'll see. So I pitched in my tent. Her son came, she asked him, and he happily gave me his room. It was a very, very nice room. So for the next 2 days, I was their guest. They did not let me eat out. So, they were serving food at the race venue. So I thought I'll just go there, pay there, eat there, and come back. So they got to know that I'm going there and eating there, and per meal is costing me this much. They asked me not to. And they were like, we're making food for you. If we're making food for you, you're part of family now. You're staying with us, you're part of family. Whatever we are eating, you're eating that.
Wow.
Their kitchen was so beautiful, so beautiful. So it was a proper Pahadi house.
What place was this exactly?
Right, it's near Shimla.
Wow. So you
Yeah.
got to live in a Pahadi house, like as a local. Wow.
Yeah, as the local, and their kitchen is amazing. I mean, you just sit down and you eat there, and then there is this proper, authentic, that angithi chulha kind of a setup. And then there is a utensil cleaning, area that is attached to it separately. And you just open the window, you see mountains and their cattle and their, these chickens, little chickens. So it was just overwhelming. It was amazing experience. They are the people who actually made me run that 50-kilometer super strong. And as I always say, I've dedicated that 50-kilometer to that family, that mountain family that took care of me.
Oh,
Yes, and
wonderful.
yeah, and I do remember this one short story from Prague. So their bakery products are amazing. There was this small little shop, bakery shop, and I went there and I wanted to buy. But I did not have the Czech currency. I had euros with me. And in most of the Czech, they do accept euros. But at that particular bakery, because it was a small bakery, they were not accepting, euros. And there was a waffle in my hand, which I was about to return. And then this stranger came. He was like, please keep it. I'm paying for you. And I was like, no, please don't do that. And then he said, I travel a lot. People have been kind to me. I'm doing nothing. I'm just returning, a kind gesture. Just you do good for someone else when someone else is in your country. Just take care
Wow.
of yourself. I was very so I do all that kind of crazy stuff. Like, in the mountains, I would go and I would want to try a headstand on a narrow bridge, and I've fallen down.
That's
And
also a story we would like to hear about that.
so I was in this village, which is near McLeodganj somewhere. I don't know the name of the village. So I was going inside the jungle, and we are on this particular trail, and there was a small river stream. So to cross that river stream, there was a bridge, narrow bridge. It must not be bigger than this. So it was that narrow, and my brother crossed. I just stood there. He was living in McLeodganj back then. So I stood there. I was like, I want to do a headstand here. And he looked at me like, are you nuts. So I was like, yeah, I want to do it. They're like, okay, fine, go do. They're like, you click a picture. I was like, yeah. He said, okay, fine, I will. So I went, I did the headstand. But then I came back, I saw the picture. So like, no, my legs are not straight. It's not a perfect headstand. I want to go back and then do it. So I asked him, this time you make a video. Why? Because even if I, keep my legs straight for a millisecond, I'll take a screenshot and then I'll be happy. So I went back while doing the headstand. So I think when you're balancing, you shouldn't doubt. Again, anything that you're doing, you shouldn't doubt. So when I was balancing, I just thought, what if I fell down? I thought, what if I fell down? I fell down. I tried to hold that, wood, but I couldn't. I just fell down. There were rocks beneath that bridge. And from there, I shouted just to convince my brother, I am all right. Nothing has happened to me. But fortunately, nothing had happened. He thought that I think he thought that I had broken my rib or something. But fortunately,
Well, obviously.
fortunately, I did not.
Also, but that
Yeah.
was
So, yeah. And I've submitted Mount Stoke Kangri on my birthday, and that too, like on a shoestring budget with the Indian Army.
wow. With the
Yeah,
Indian Army.
the Indian Army. So I was in Ladakh in 2017 when I was hitchhiking, and so I got bored of sightseeing. I was looking for some adventure, something. So then I started researching about trekking, treks, and I have always heard of Stoke Kangri. So I went to these. I mean, there are travel agents there. So I went to all of them and asked them, I want to do Mount Stoke Kangri. How much would it cost? They all kept telling me, 15,000, 20,000, 12,000 was the minimum, and I did not have. I mean, back then I did not have that money in my pocket. I feel.
So, like, do you suggest spending that much rather than like exploring yourself?
I wouldn't have spent so much. I do not. Different people have different choices, but I would not suggest anyone to. But it's. I mean, it's a worth. I mean, that experience is worth it. But I don't know. I wouldn't have. But I think if people want to, they should go there with a proper guide because it is technical. It is not like any random trek because there will be a glacier. You have to
Oh,
wearing
wow.
those Scarpa shoes and all. You should have the proper gaiters and those below your Scarpa shoes. You put those metallic spikes to cross the glaciers. So yes, it's important. You should have all the gears. You should have the technical knowledge, uh, or you take a
Take a
guide.
guide. Yeah.
With you. But I was stupid. I just wanted to do it. So
Okay.
I asked people, and then a foreigner who's now a very good friend suggested me that I should go alone, and he convinced me to go alone to at least to the base camp of of the peak. So he convinced me like if you'll go for a trek, you'll not get the feeling of that sense of accomplishment. So he convinced me, go until the base camp. Next time when you come, you go for the summit. So I started, he gave me the directions like, you go to this proper taxi stand. From there, you take a taxi to this proper village. From that village, you start walking towards that particular direction. You would see other trekkers, going to the base camp, join them. So I followed his instructions. I took my tent, some breads, some butter, uh, uh, some fruits, veggies, and a pair of extra clothes. That's it. And I started walking towards the base camp. I was fortunate because while taking a break at this particular tea stall where I was having my Maggie and talking to some fellow trekkers, I got to know they were all with their guides. So I think I was the only girl who was just doing the alpine style without even knowing that I was doing the alpine style climbing. And that is when I met this Subedar, Major Subedar from the army, and then we started talking, and then they told me that they're also going to the summit. So I was like, would you mind if I tag along? And then we gladly tagged along, we were talking, and in between the the major came. So the major was, was the commanding officer for that particular summit. So he was the in charge. So they all got scared, like, अब तो साहब आ गए हैं, अब तो ये लड़की को हम साथ ले जा नहीं सकते अपने. They all took break. They had the lunch. And I walked up to the major now this time. So I walked up to him. I introduced myself like, "Hi, I'm Apurva, and I'm a backpacker, and I'm just traveling on a shoestring budget. Would you mind if I tag along with you guys until the base camp?" And I don't know why. Again, he agreed. Usually, they do not tag along the civilians. He agreed.
Yeah.
He agreed, and I thought they would take a break in between. They did not. We like right away. We reached the summit, the base camp. And at the base camp, I decided that I'll also go for the summit. So a day prior to my birthday, I climbed the peak with the Indian Army. I came down, and the next morning, while we were leaving from the base camp, they all sang me "Happy Birthday to you." And
wow.
Did celebrate. When we came down also, we pitched in our tents together, and that was one special birthday that I celebrated with the Indian Army.
So the best gift ever, right?
Yeah, the best birthday ever.
Singing you happy birthday, yaar.
Yeah, the best birthday ever.
Wonderful, yeah. Your experiences are like literally mind-blowing experiences. True. You are representing Adidas. You are the Adidas brand ambassador. So
Right.
how did that happen?
So all of this happened after I made the national record. So I think these are all small and little opportunities that come your way. And I do remember I only had one pair of shoe, and I would do my training and my races and everything in that one pair of shoe. I was part of Adidas running community. I was running with them before making the national record as well. So I was only a group member back then, not an ambassador, not a crew member. But once I made the national record, the Adidas team approached me. They wanted me on the board, and that's how I got the opportunity. And now I think I have all the training shoes that I would like to wear on a training day, on a race day, on a speed training day, on an interval training day. So now I have a variety of shoes. And
wonderful.
I'm so lucky and I'm so fortunate.
I think not lucky. I think you earned it.
Yeah, so I've earned it. So I'm fortunate that way. And I am also an ambassador with Adidas Fantastic.
Okay, so coming towards the end of the interview, I would like you to give a strong message to our listeners.
I am someone who do not give strong messages, but the only thing I would want to tell anyone I come across through this interview is that please believe in yourself, believe in your dreams, and first of all, dare to dream because they do come true, and put faith in your dreams. Be kind to everyone around you, and even if someone is being kind to you, make sure that you reciprocate that kindness, not just to this person, you spread it forward, like you help someone else, so that and ask that person to help someone else. So these are very little things, but if we are chasing our dreams, if we are staying humble, if we are staying kind, if we have faith in our dreams, I think we tend to reach our goals faster. We create positivity around us, we create good vibes around us, which attracts good people around us, and that's how we spread this amazing infectious energy which makes this world a very beautiful place to live. So, and cheers to you, Meenakshi, for spreading your good vibes. You're one amazing person that I've come across, not just through traveling, but chasing your dreams, following your heart, and being brave enough to do something which is not conventional. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, so the last question is, how can our listeners connect with you?
I have an Instagram page which is in the name of @RunChikara. They can message me there, they can follow me there. I do have a Facebook page in the name of Apurva Chikara. Uh, I will answer them there as well. They can message me there, but I'm more active on Instagram.
Thank you so much, Apurva,
Thank you so
for
much,
for your
Sakshi.
time and your inspiring,
Thank
journey.
you so
And
much for this wonderful opportunity, and I am looking forward to many more such amazing sessions with you. And I will be waiting for other interviews as well, because I know you've been interviewing a lot of people who are so inspiring. So I'm super excited, and I'm looking forward to it.
thank you so much.
Awesome. Keep chasing your dreams. Lots of
Definitely.
bye bye.
Thank you. Bye
So,
bye.
this was Apurva's inspiring life journey so far and her crazy travel experiences, and I hope you got some amazing insights and motivation from this episode.
Thank you so much for giving your precious time to this podcast. If this episode was inspiring and insightful, please do drop a comment on my Instagram and YouTube
@mybohovoyage.
Please do subscribe and give a 5-star rating and hopefully write a review for inspiring explorers. Also, please don't forget to connect with me on Instagram and YouTube. Drop me a hi or send me a comment so that I know we are in this journey together. This is Meenakshi Srivastava, your host for Inspiring Explorers, saying goodbye. See you next week with an amazing, inspiring interview. Till then, take care.